together with a sense of excitement because that we know there's a test and we're ready for the test. It's a test of Texas' future. You see, in Rick Perry's Texas, it is every man for himself. In Rick Perry's Texas, it's the special interest, not the public interest, that calls the shots. Now, you can criticize Rick Perry for not having leadership by example, but when it comes to promoting self-interest, it's fair to say that Rick Perry does lead by example on that. We found out just last week or so that Rick Perry, listen to this, he takes a full salary as governor, but he only schedules 7 hours of state business every single week. Now, how are you going to explain that to teachers and state troopers and so many others who are being asked to do more for less? Well, the explanation is pretty simple. Rick Perry's in it for himself, right? We also learned that Rick Perry charges taxpayers $10,000 a month for a big mansion to live in. It's a rented mansion, far bigger than any mansion or housing that any Texas governor's ever had. And we also find that he charges taxpayers for chefs and a subscription to Food and Wine magazine. Did you know that? Is that right? Foodie? Ooh la la. Now, how can you explain that to taxpayers when there's an $18 billion budget shortfall because he's managed Texas so that we're spending beyond our means? Well, there's a simple explanation for that, and you'll get this explanation as we go along. Simple. Rick Perry's in it for himself, right? Can y'all say that? Rick Perry's in it for himself. You know, Rick Perry accepted more stimulus funds than any other governor except the governors of California and New York. He did. And since he's been governor, the fastest growing source of state revenues has been federal funding. Yet we find that Rick Perry has time to write a new book. Have you heard about this? He says he's writing a new book called Fed Up, about states' rights. Fed Up. Now you tell me that he has time to write a book about states' rights while he's taking a record amount of federal dollars when he hasn't even had time to write a state budget that adds up? How can you explain that? The explanation is simple. Rick Perry's in it for himself. Now many here may remember, now you have to go back a ways in these conventions, that Rick Perry showed up at one of these conventions the year that he was the statewide chairman of Al Gore's first presidential race. And then immediately after that, he switched parties because he saw there was an opening and he wanted to move up. And now we see that with Ms. Palin's quitting the governorship and cashing in, there's room at the top for the leader of the national right wing. And he's auditioning for that role now. With a state in a budget crisis, with a percentage of adults that we have that have a high school diploma, the second from the bottom only, with Mississippi behind us, and he's been in Asia for the last 10, 11 days. How do you explain that? Simple. Rick Perry's in it for himself. Now, I don't have all the practice and polish of the career politician. He's good at commercials. I'm good at getting things done.
Yes, sir!